hear me clearly today. What God is doing right now is bigger than what you've been praying for and deeper than what you've been crying about. You thought the delay was denial. You thought the silence was absence. But heaven has been busy while you were waiting. God doesn't make noise. When he's making moves, he prepares quietly, strategically, intentionally. You're standing at the edge of a moment that will shock you. Not because you earned it, but because God is faithful even when you're exhausted. What you thought was falling apart was actually being rearranged. What felt like loss was alignment. What looked like pressure was preparation. God is not reacting to your problem. He's already responded to your future. While you were questioning yourself, he was building your capacity. While you were asking, why me? He was declaring, watch me. This season is not about survival. It's about sudden change. Don't misread the tension. Don't underestimate the timing. Don't walk away just because it's uncomfortable. You are closer than you think. The same God who carried you through the storm is about to reveal why the storm couldn't destroy you. Get ready, because what God is doing now will exceed your expectations, confront your doubts, and elevate your faith. This is not the end of your story. This is the turning point. Silence can feel unsettling when you're desperate for answers. It can feel like abandonment when you've been faithful, praying, waiting, and believing. But hear this clearly, silence is not absence. Silence is not neglect. Silence is not delay for delay's sake. Silence is often the sound of God working at a level you cannot yet perceive. Before God moves in power, he almost always works in quiet precision. Think about creation itself. The seed doesn't announce when it's growing underground. Roots don't make noise while they strengthen. Foundations are laid out of sight long before the building rises into view. If God shouted every step of what he was doing, you wouldn't be ready to receive it. The silence is protection. The silence is preparation. The silence is mercy. You've been asking God to explain himself, but God has been asking you to trust him. You've been waiting for clarity, but God has been developing character. You've been searching for confirmation, while God has been arranging alignment. Heaven is not disorganized. Heaven does not panic. Heaven does not rush. When God goes quiet, it's not because he has stopped moving, it's because he's moving with intention. Some of the greatest shifts in your life will happen without warning. Not because God forgot to notify you, but because announcing it too early would expose it to fear, doubt, and interference. God knows what voices to silence while he builds what he promised. Not everyone needs to know what he's doing in you. Not every season needs an explanation. Some seasons only need obedience. You thought the quiet meant you were stuck. In reality, God was stripping distractions. You thought nothing was changing, but God was changing you. The silence wasn't empty, it was full of strategy. While you were waiting for a sign, God was strengthening your discernment. While you were waiting for a breakthrough, God was expanding your capacity to handle it. God often does his deepest work where applause can't reach. He shapes you where opinions don't matter. He molds you where validation is absent. Because if your confidence depends on noise, you'll crumble when opposition gets loud. God builds people in silence who can stand in storms. You didn't lose momentum, you lost noise. And sometimes noise is the enemy of purpose. Sometimes God removes the crowd so you can hear his voice. Sometimes he shuts doors not to punish you, but to focus you. Sometimes he slows things down because what's coming requires maturity, not just motivation. Don't confuse hidden with forgotten. Joseph was hidden before he was elevated. David was unseen before he was anointed king. Esther was positioned quietly before she saved a nation. What looks like delay is often divine sequencing. God never reveals step 10 to someone still mastering step 1. The silence is teaching you endurance. It's teaching you discipline. It's teaching you faith without evidence. Anyone can praise when miracles are loud, but faith is forged when miracles are quiet. Trust is built when you walk without confirmation and still believe God is good. God is not trying to impress you with spectacle. He's trying to prepare you for stewardship. Power without preparation will destroy you. Elevation without foundation will collapse you. That's why God works in silence first. So when he moves in power, you won't be crushed by what you pray for. There are things God is doing behind the scenes that you'll only understand in hindsight. One day you'll look back and realize that what you called loneliness was actually protection. What you called delay was development. What you called silence was instruction. Right now, God is rearranging details you didn't even know mattered. He's aligning people you haven't met yet. He's closing paths that would have led to burnout. He's shielding you from opportunities that look good but aren't God. And he's strengthening you for moments that will demand wisdom, not just excitement. Silence also tests motive. Are you following God for what he gives or for who he is? Will you stay when there's no reward, no recognition, no applause? God trusts silence to reveal loyalty. When nothing is happening externally, everything is being measured internally. If God spoke too soon, you'd move too fast. If God showed you the full picture now, you'd skip the process. But purpose requires patience. Calling requires character. Destiny requires discipline. Silence is not a setback, it's a sacred space. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not forgotten. You are in formation. Heaven is setting the stage. And when God decides to move in power, it will be undeniable. Doors will open without struggle. Favor will speak without explanation. What took years to prepare will manifest in moments. So don't quit in the quiet. Don't doubt in the dark. Don't walk away just because it's silent. Trust the God who works best when you can't see him. Because when he breaks the silence, when he reveals what he's been doing all along, you'll realize this season wasn't empty, it was essential. And what God is preparing in silence will speak louder than anything you could have forced in noise. Waiting has a way of testing everything inside you. It tests your patience, your faith, your confidence, and sometimes even your identity. When answers don't come quickly, when doors don't open on your timeline, it's easy to assume something is wrong. But hear this clearly, delay is not denial, and waiting is not wasting time. Delay is often divine development. God is never late. He doesn't operate on panic, pressure, or comparison. He operates on purpose. What feels slow to you is often precise to him. You see the clock, God sees the process. You want the promise. Go. D wants you prepared for the promise. Because what you pray for can bless you or break you depending on who you become before it arrives. Think about how growth really works. Muscles don't grow in comfort, they grow under resistance. Skills aren't mastered overnight. They are developed through repetition. Wisdom isn't gained in moments of ease. It's formed through experience. In the same way, God uses seasons of delay to strengthen what shortcuts would weaken. He uses waiting to build what rushing would destroy. You've been asking, why is it taking so long? But God has been asking, are you ready? Ready to handle it without pride, ready to steward it without fear, ready to keep your character intact when your platform expands. Delay is God's way of protecting you from receiving too much too soon. Sometimes God delays the outcome because he's still shaping the person. You're asking him to change the situation, but he's working on your discernment. You're asking him to move the obstacle, but he's building endurance. You're asking him to speed it up, but he's deepening your roots, because storms don't knock over trees. With deep roots, they knock over the one that grew too fast. Delay also exposes what you're truly trusting. When momentum slows, when progress isn't visible, when prayers feel unanswered, you discover whether your faith was in God or in the outcome. Anyone can trust God when results are instant, but faith matures when you keep believing without evidence. We and you keep obeying without applause, when you keep moving without clarity. God uses delay to detox you from impatience. He removes the need for instant gratification and replaces it with endurance. He teaches you to walk by faith, not by feelings, to listen for His voice, not the noise of comparison. Because if you always get things quickly, you'll never learn how to sustain them. Some delays are not about you at all. Sometimes God is aligning other people, other circumstances, and other details you can't control. You think it's about one door, but God is coordinating an entire hallway. You think it's about one moment, but God is shaping a season. What looks like a pause is often a setup. Delay also builds humility. When things don't come easily, you learn gratitude. When progress is slow, you learn dependence. When the path is unclear, you learn to pray. God knows that unchecked success can damage your soul. So He allows delay to keep you grounded, grateful, and God dependent. There are lessons you can only learn in the waiting room. Compassion is learned there. Patience is refined there. Discernment is sharpened there. Strength is formed there. If God rushed you past this season, you'd miss the development that makes the destination sustainable. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. God isn't withholding because He's cruel, He's withholding because He's careful. He sees what you don't see. He knows what pressure is coming with that next level. He knows what responsibility comes with that blessing. And He loves you too much to promote you before you're ready. Delay teaches you how to trust God when you can't trace Him. It teaches you how to keep showing up when results are slow. It teaches you how to worship when prayers feel unanswered. These are not small lessons, they are foundational. They are the kind of lessons that keep you steady when life shakes. Many people want the outcome without the overflow of character it requires. They want the victory without the discipline. They want the promise without the process. But God is more interested in who you're becoming than what you're receiving. Because if your character can't carry the blessing will carry you away from God. In delay, God develops your vision. He helps you see beyond quick wins and temporary applause. He trains you to think long term, to move wisely, to choose purpose over popularity. What you're learning now will guide decisions later, when the stakes are higher. Delay also gives God space to heal what success would expose. Unhealed wounds don't disappear when blessings arrive. They get amplified. In waiting, God addresses insecurities, fears, and habits that would sabotage you later. He's not just preparing your future, He's protecting it. One day, you'll realize that the delay saved you. It saved you from the wrong relationship. It saved you from the wrong opportunity. It saved you from becoming someone you wouldn't recognize. And you'll thank God not just for what He gave you, but for what He didn't give you too soon. So don't rush this season. Don't resent the pace. Don't compare your timeline to someone else's highlight reel. God is developing you on purpose. What He's doing in you now will make sense when you step into what's next. Stay faithful in the waiting. Stay obedient in the delay. Stay humble in the process. Because when God finally releases what you've been praying for, you won't just be excited, you'll be ready. And that's the difference between a blessing that fades and a destiny that lasts. Pressure has a way of revealing what's inside you. It exposes your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, and your strength all at once. And when life starts to press you from every side, it's easy to think something is wrong. But hear this clearly, pressure is not punishment. Pressure is proof of promotion. You don't put pressure on something that has no value. You don't refine what you don't intend to use. You don't stretch what you don't plan to elevate. Pressure comes when God is getting ready to take you higher. It is the sign that you are being prepared for something greater than where you are now. Think about how diamonds are formed. They don't become valuable in comfort. They are shaped under intense heat and crushing pressure. What makes them rare is not their beauty, is their endurance. In the same way, God allows pressure to shape you into someone who can carry weight, influence, and responsibility. If you weren't destined for more, you wouldn't be under this kind of strain. If there wasn't another level ahead of you, the enemy wouldn't be fighting you this hard. If there wasn't a promotion coming, life wouldn't be stretching you this far. Pressure is proof that you are growing beyond where you've been. The problem is we often pray for elevation, but complain about the process. We ask God to take us higher, but we resist the stretching. We want promotion, but we don't want the pressure that prepares us for it. But growth demands resistance. Strength requires tension. Maturity needs challenge. Pressure forces you to develop muscles you didn't know you had. It teaches you endurance when comfort would make you lazy. It sharpens your focus when ease would make you careless. It trains your faith when certainty would make you passive. Pressure activates potential. Some of the strongest people you admire were shaped in seasons of intense struggle. They didn't become powerful by accident. They became powerful because they survived pressure without losing their purpose. They learned how to stand when everything inside them wanted to sit down. They learned how to keep moving when everything around them told them to quit. Pressure reveals what you truly trust. When everything is going well, it's easy to say you believe. But when the pressure rises, your real foundation is exposed. That's when faith stops being a word and becomes a lifestyle. That's when prayer stops being a habit and becomes a lifeline. Pressure also strips away what you no longer need. It breaks pride. It destroys complacency, exposes weakness. It forces you to confront habits, mindsets, and relationships that can't go where you're headed. Sometimes the discomfort you feel is God removing what would limit your next level. You thought the pressure was trying to break you, but it's actually trying to build you. You thought it was sent to crush you, but it was designed to shape you. You thought it meant you were failing, but it means you're being promoted. Every new level requires a new version of you, and that version can only be formed under pressure. The pressure is building discipline. It's strengthening your decision making. It's sharpening your discernment. It's deepening your dependence on God. Pressure teaches you how to lead yourself before you lead others. It teaches you how to manage emotions before you manage influence. It teaches you how to stay grounded before you are lifted. Without pressure, pride would destroy you. Without pressure, success would consume you. Some people want the spotlight without the shadow season. They want the applause without the unseen grind. They want the crown without the cross. But God knows that what looks glamorous in public is forged painfully in private. Before elevation comes isolation. Before celebration comes preparation. Pressure also develops resilience. It teaches you how to recover quickly, how to stand back up, how to keep going when motivation fades. Life doesn't get easier at higher levels, it gets heavier. That's why God builds strength before He releases responsibility. You're learning how to carry weight, emotional weight, mental weight, spiritual weight, responsibility weight. God is increasing your capacity so that when the blessing arrives, you don't collapse under it. Pressure is expanding you. What feels overwhelming now will soon feel manageable. What feels impossible now will soon feel normal. Because pressure is increasing your threshold. You're becoming stronger than your circumstances. You're becoming wiser than your challenges. You're becoming deeper than your fears. Pressure also teaches you boundaries. It shows you where to say no. It teaches you how to prioritize. It helps you recognize what drains you and what strengthens you. It forces you to protect your peace and guard your purpose. Some doors only open when pressure proves you're ready. Some opportunities only appear when your character can sustain them. Some blessings only arrive when your discipline can handle them. Pressure is God's way of qualifying you for what's next. You are not under attack. You are under construction. God is building something inside you that cannot be rushed. He is shaping a mindset that cannot be borrowed. He is developing a strength that cannot be faked. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's exhausting at times. But you are not being crushed, you are being crafted. You are not being buried, you are being planted. What looks like pressure today will become power tomorrow. Then will come a day when you'll look back and thank God for this season. You'll realize that the pressure saved you from arrogance. It saved you from shortcuts. It saved you from shallow success. It prepared you for sustainable greatness. Don't run from the pressure. Don't curse the pressure. Don't resent the pressure. Let it shape you. Let it mature you. Let it strengthen you. Because when the promotion comes, when